Hey, what's going on? Well, as promised, I'm getting ready to show you the Practice and Enjoy event from last week at Mobile Beat Las Vegas. It took place on Wednesday, February 2nd at 5 o'clock in the afternoon there at the Riviera Hotel and Casino there in Las Vegas. And I got to tell you, before you see this video, it was wonderful. For those of us who were there and were able to attend, I have to say that it was definitely among one of the best Practice and Enjoy events that I've ever been to or have ever seen. I mean, we had a lot of great guys who got up and spoke, and it was real interesting finding out about what DJing is like around their particular area of the world, and I really got a lot out of it. I think you're going to agree with me when you say that. And Brian even said that he thought this was the best Practice and Enjoy event that he'd ever seen. I'd have to agree with him on that. The guys really did a good job getting up there and speaking about everything about what happens around their particular part of the world. So I think you're going to get a lot out of it. Now, for those of you who didn't make it to Mobile Beat Las Vegas 2011 last week, go ahead and start making plans to join us next year at Mobile Beat Las Vegas 2012. The dates are going to be February 7th, 8th, and 9th with the pre-activities beginning on February the 6th. That's exactly 1 year from today. So anyway, make plans now, and you can check mobilebeat.com for more information on that. So without any further ado, let's go back to Las Vegas and check out Practice and Enjoy 2011. I don't know how many videos it's going to take to upload this, but it's going to be well worth it. The program ran about an hour in length, but again, I think you're really going to get a lot out of it. So let's head back to Las Vegas.
Absolutely, really good to see you.
Oh,
I'm feeling slightly tired, but
David is from Germany.
No. Give me another hamburger, pals.
Well, shit, this is a regular meeting of the UN.
Okay, we're getting ready to get Practice and Enjoy underway here in just a second.
What a nice president.
Go ahead and do this. I guess the village people stole our memo, so we're gonna. So I'm just gonna hold it like this and try. Most of you have been here. Who's here for the first time? This is Jonathan. Nice talking this thing. This is Practice and Enjoy. What we do here is we just share a little bit of knowledge about what it's like to DJ parts of the world we live in. Very informal. A lot of you may think Practice and Enjoy is a bunch of turntables and that kind of thing. Now, there's plenty of that inside. Let's talk, let's network, and let's share some information. So we've got some people who want to get us to talk about what they do. And Stefan is going to be first. Yeah, you're going to be first. Stefan's going to come up and tell us about DJ in Canada. Great white north. Give it up for our friend Stefan.
So, since you were booing, je vais parler en français pour toute la soirée. Je suis de Montréal. Oui, tu comprends ce que je dis? No, don't worry.
I take credit.
It's all right.
I'll
I take credit. Whose idea was that? Nope.
yeah, I'll give credit to Matt for that one.
So, can you hear me? No. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Is that better?
No, we can't be all right.
There's like only 20.
They knew you were first.
I can talk loud, so I'll just talk loud.
So my name's Stefan Jazz. I'm from Montreal. And yeah, I've been DJing for about 15 years now. And the YouTube thing, been involved for the last couple of years, gig logs and all that kind of stuff, and meeting all you guys. So, I mean, everyone always asks, so what's the big difference between weddings in Canada and the States? And, you know, I can even divide that more to the difference between weddings between the way I do them and the way Jasper does them in Toronto. I think and the way Candace and Brenton do them out west. I think it's different in Montreal than even those cities. One of the really cool things about DJing in Montreal, weddings especially, is Montreal is a very multicultural city. There are tons of ethnicities, whole bunch of backgrounds, and no wedding is ever the same. You have German, English, Italian, Greek wedding. You have a French, Greek. You have Indian, Arabic. You have Arabic and Canadian. You have a U.S. Canadian. Like every combination for almost every wedding is never the same.
Australians?
Yeah, there's some. I did an Australian wedding. It was this summer. They flew like 24 hours to get here, and they moved to Australia. The bride is from here. The husband was from there, and absolutely. So I just did one recently. So for each wedding, I get to also learn new cultural music because okay, I don't have every cultural music in the world, but I have some that I've accumulated. But for each wedding, I'll ask them. Okay, so it's. I did an African wedding. I didn't have any African music. So I said, so give me your African music and tell me, is it fast, is it dinner, is it dancey, and I'll incorporate it for you, and I do. So I get to amass a little bit of different cultural music that I would have never heard before, and learn a little bit about that kind of music. So that's a huge part of the weddings in Montreal, especially. You have to incorporate the cultural music for that couple throughout your evening. Arabic is pretty big, Indian is pretty big. Of course, Italian and Greek weddings are pretty big in Montreal. Those are kind of like the major ones. The other huge difference that I think we can tell from like gig logs from you guys in the US is our weddings don't end at like 11 or 12. Our weddings go much, much later. Like you guys are packing up and in the car by like midnight, and we're just like getting started by midnight sometimes on the dance floor. We'll typically end, most weddings will end around 1:30, 2 o'clock. If it's a really banging wedding, it'll go till 3. 3 is pretty much the max that most halls will kick you out. So that's a huge difference right there. Like we do the same thing, the cocktail, the dinner, the speeches, the dances, all that stuff. Dancing starts around 10 or so, depending on when they get through all the formalities.
What's your start time?
Start time is usually around 5 or 6.
Wow.
Yeah, is that late or early?
Well, it's just a long game.
You're doing 9-hour gigs.
But see, the thing I don't get is, we're still gonna start dancing at 10 or whatever, but I'm not gonna come in and sit up at 9, right? So you gotta get ready.
Sure, absolutely.
So, well, they're gonna use me for the microphone and all that stuff. But so yeah, it does make for a very long day. It's a very long day and you start at 5, I'm there at 2 or 3, depending on the setup, right? And yeah, you end up getting home at 3 or 4 sometimes. So you need to rest properly before and, make sure you have the energy for that evening. But yeah, that's the other huge difference is that. In Montreal, everyone always says, oh, you speak French and all that stuff. I'm more English, as you can tell. I do speak French, but my clientele, can tell that. So my clientele tend to be more of the English nature. I do French weddings. I can do a whole wedding in French. How much speaking do we really do, right? It's a couple of announcements and a couple little crowd, little things. So I'll do that in French. That's not a problem. So I do, but it's not like it's French all the time. It's not. That's like a generality. I don't know what else. Those are the 2 big differences.
What
I
about
think.
stag and nose? Do you do those?
No, that we don't do. And last year when Candace and Brittany were telling me about those, I had never heard of them before. We don't do those. So a stag and doe is like a
Jack and Joe.
like a jacket. We don't do those either. But we have engagement parties, which is the party about a year before the wedding. So I do a few of those. They're few and far between, I guess for budgetary reasons.
It's not something we do down there in the States.
See, so the engagement party or the stag and doe, they'll have it, a year or before or 6 months before. But more so in Montreal, they're becoming more like they'll do it at home with all their family and relatives or whatever in the backyard or whatnot. But it won't be like a big production like the wedding would be. I have done a few where they've made it a big production. They've rented the hall and they do the whole thing, just like a wedding, just minus all the formalities. But hardly ever. Yeah.
Stefan, what's your biggest upsell at the moment?
Right now, the biggest upsell would be the uplighting. That's starting to catch on a bit more. The trend I've noticed in Montreal over the past 2 years is no one cares about lighting anymore. The lighting is not the selling point. They really don't care about that. And from coming last year, I started to realize that, yeah, that's, start to talk to people and different seminars. More and more lighting. How much lighting do you need? You're just wasting your time setting it all up, and it's going to look like too much stuff. It's a wedding we're talking about, right? So keep it simple. Try to find what's good. But the big difference now is people want the simple kind of setup, but the uplighting is the selling point now. It's starting to become. Some people ask for it. Some people just need a little bit of incentive. And look at this, and then they'll actually take it. but it's still on the verge of catching on. The photo booth thing is not really big in Montreal. The video thing is starting to catch on as well. I don't do the video yet, but it's not like, no one has ever asked me for it, actually. It's just, some people do it, it's starting to catch on slowly, but it's not like a huge thing at the moment. Any other questions, or any other, I don't know, that's pretty much what I can think of off the top of my head.
That was
What
brilliant.
rates do you get for such a long wedding?
Sorry?
What's the average rate for such a long wedding?
The rates in Montreal, and I mean, every market is different, obviously, but for weddings like that, the typical price range for like the pro guys will be, you know, anywhere from starting $700 to like $2,000, depending on what you're getting. Like that's, the real ballpark is probably from $700 to $1,500 Canadian US. Right now it's about the same.
So that's around sort of 8 hours.
Yeah, so you can average $1,000. You know, that's a really simple number. Some will go a lot less, and of course you have. You know,
That's $1,000 for a 12-hour day.
yeah, from 5. Well, yeah, well from 5 or 6. That's it. But that's what the market's paying, right? And sometimes, and it's only since last year that I've started saying, you know, because clients are like, oh, well, that's too much. We can find someone for $400. Like the same thing, and I started saying, well, I'm sorry. Then, you know, go with them for these reasons. You're right. It's a long day, and you know, if you're going to want quality service, you're going to have to pay for it, and that is a huge average. What I just told you. So we're going to go. I'm within that average. I try to be a little bit higher than that, but that's the average. So you can't double that because no one's going to hire you, but they're not going to charge half for that. You know, so. But yeah, that's kind of the rate. Simon, or no, John. John, you didn't ask me a question yet.
Oh, I forgot, sorry. Oh, you made me wait that long.
Then Simon. Okay.
That's
More.
So do you charge extra for your lighting, or?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Alright.
Everything's extra. Like ceremony will be extra. So if they want to do ceremony music before, or ceremony microphone before, or the cocktails outside after the ceremony, that will be an extra. Uplighting is definitely an extra. I charge per fixture, which they like because. Okay, 10 fixtures, or if you don't have a big budget, well, we can maybe do 8, and we'll save you a little bit of money. Or maybe just for your head table, so you only need like 4. And so it's a good way to get them the sale and not charge them an arm and a leg. You're charging them per fixture, and they seem to like that. But definitely, that's all extra. Big, huge light show, that's extra. Because that's going to take you 2 hours to set that up. So I'm going to charge you a lot more for that. John.
I remember what I was going to say now.
Right.
I'm interested in the order of the formalities, because I've noticed here in America they do the bouquet toss and that really early in the night. Like back home in Australia, it's like one of the last things we do. So
We
what's
do
the
it.
traditional order. Where do they do all that sort of stuff?
Well, okay, I'll answer the bouquet thing for you. We do it like midway. Like, well, if you do it right away, when you start dancing, you're gonna lose everyone because then that's the last formality, right? So if you do that, then it's like, okay, what are we gonna hang around
We do
for?
the same thing in the States, and make them stick around for a
Maybe
while.
try to make them stick around.
Especially the older folks.
Yeah,
Not too
'cause-
late where they're exhausted, but long
Yeah.
enough so they can have a good time, maybe an hour or so.
Yeah, it's like dance for an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
And then by that time you do the cake or whatever, maybe do the bouquet or you do the bouquet when it's starting to die out for some reason. Do the bouquet, and then that gets it back on the dance floor, and then you start again. But the formalities, and I think it's similar to the way you guys do it in the States. So you have your cocktails and your dinner. Throughout the dinner, try to do all those speeches and everything. So you have the toast by the best man first before you start eating. You have the speech from the father of the bride, the speech from the father of the groom. Then you may have a speech from the maid of honor. And then sometimes the bride and the groom themselves will have their speech at some point throughout the evening. You have a couple of courses in between there. You'll do the mother-son dance, the father-daughter dance. A big trend too that's been kind of, a lot of couples have been being very shy lately of having their dance being in the spotlight, just him and his mother or her and her father. So the cool thing that I've been suggesting is, well, let's do it all 4 of you together. You make it like a parent and child dance, and they really like that, so it makes their parents happy, and they still get to have that moment, and the spotlight is not on any one of them, so it's a lot less nervous for them. So we'll do that, and then we'll do the first dance before we start opening the dance floor. And the bouquet is a bit later for the reasons I said before. So that's pretty much the kind of standard way.
How do you put that into such a short time? Because when I'm thinking of the Germans, our weddings will go until the next day, 12 o'clock.
Yeah, you guys are nuts.
She said, just to me, come there, eat there, drink there, be happy. That's it.
Wow.
And then we start our weddings at 6 o'clock like you, but I think 3 o'clock is the normal time. It could be 6 o'clock with a good time.
Wow. I mean, from what I just said, I'm already getting tired, but it's long. Like to us, that's already long. The way I get around it is I recommend to the couple all the time, all those speeches and dances, we do them throughout the dinner. So we do them while people are eating. They're eating anyway, they're not doing anything, so they might as well listen to you say your speech that no one wants to hear anyway.
Exactly.
Why? So some weddings you go to, they eat, then they do speech for an hour, and then you're dying. And then you try to dance, yeah, right, you know what I mean? So a lot of the weddings, you incorporate it throughout your eating, and you're doing all these things. And I mean, the speeches are like 5-10 minutes, so it's not, and a song is 5 minutes for the dances. So it does not feel like you're rushing. It doesn't feel like you're rushing throughout the night. A lot of the times, there's still too much open space and nothing really happening. And depending on the couple, we'll sometimes dance during the dinner as well. So that's
Very different. In Germany, no one informs you that they will have a speech. Grandmother Betty will arrive at 1 o'clock when the dance floor is totally full. Please turn on the lights! I can't read you now! And then they stand there for maybe 20 minutes, just...
Yeah.
You get angry!
All right, Simon, last question, Simon.
Just a quick one, and it's off the wedding subject. How has YouTube changed? Because obviously a lot of us in here met on YouTube. How's that changed at all? Sort of benefits of your business?
Hugely. It has hugely impacted me, actually. The huge part is the learning from other people, getting all the ideas, and upping my game big time. Because just seeing, wow, that's so simple, what a great idea, like why am I not doing that? So that's helped. The other thing is asking for advice and getting an answer from all your friends that you've met, and so you get that. The other thing that actually has happened, I've had a few brides find me, hey, I found you on YouTube, are you free for this date? And by that time, they're already sold on you because they just watched you do your whole wedding and they loved it, so they called you. So not all the time, but it has happened, I think, like twice in the last year, they actually found me that way. But the benefit is just by getting to see new ideas and upping your game and having the feedback from guys. So it's definitely worth it to get involved. Excellent. Thank you very much.
So that was really good and ran really long, but it was so good, I just didn't say anything, right? No, it was really good. So everybody else has something to live up to. I'm going to bring Mara come up next. I bring Mara. Mara with DJ advice from Plymouth, California. We gave out secretly the nicest guy in America contest. He won it. And then we gave out the nicest guy in Canada contest. Jasper won. So nobody was there. It was kind of a secret meeting.
Thank you, guys. You know, I've been DJing since 1976, so that's a long time. And been in prison. Just kidding. Actually, you know, what Steph was saying about the YouTube thing, and I will agree with that. You know, Brian actually kind of was the guy, and Jonathan, of course, kind of started the whole thing. But I feel like we're family here. I mean, I really believe that. We're all family, you know, so that's how I feel. One thing I'm going to tell you guys is that I got 2 YouTube channels, and you guys even know about the other one. Another one is, like Steph was saying, and I think Steph does this as well, that the testimonials are so great. And I always encourage DJs, if you have a video at the end, just ask for a testimonial from the bride and groom. If you did a good job there, they'll be like, yeah, we'll do it. And that's priceless to me. That's like the most priceless thing, especially on YouTube. Because that basically, you know, gets you more gigs than anything else, just a testimonial part of it. So that being said, I want to let you know something. Last year, when I got here, you know, I just wanted to just be, I was a kind of friendly guy anyway, but a lot of times you go to these functions and events, and some people will come and say, hey, hi, you know, and you guys were just like family. You guys were accepting, and I just want to let you know. Oh, and I mean, the same, you know, we're just talking about the weddings going forever. How long did your wedding go for?
4 days.
4 days. Oh my gosh. I know. But like I said, we learn from each other. We learn from each other. So I'm just saying, I learned from you, you learn from me. We all learn from each other. So that's part of the acceptance. You know, when I got here, we just started talking and everything, and the tamale party was part of the, you know, hey, I'll see if I can, you know, coach him and, you know, bring him in with the tamales, and that worked. No. But seriously, what I was going to talk about is change. And the thing I've done through the last, since 76, is change. And the thing that happens with me is I have a hard time changing. I'm not sure if you guys do that. I mean, from vinyl, going to vinyl to CDs, and going from CDs to MIDI. And my whole thing is, you know, what my Facebook says is what I say. It's not what you have, it's how you use it as a DJ. So in other words, you know, I don't care if you have the best equipment in the world. It's really not about your equipment, it's about you, the guy behind the controls, and your expertise as far as your MC skills and ability. Because I've seen a lot of DJs have the best equipment, but that doesn't mean that it's going to make them any better. I'm just saying that you have to realize that some of the DJs out there basically base everything on the equipment, and that's not really where it's at. That's how I feel. I'm not sure about you guys, but I think your personality, your people skills are far more important than your equipment. But that being said, you still need capable equipment, so you have to really outweigh that. So I just wanted to take a little survey here. How many people are PC DJs? Just use PC. Okay. And how many people here use Serato? Okay. Okay. How many people use virtual DJ? Okay. How many people use PC DJ? Okay. How many people use a variety of different software? Good. That's what I'm saying. Diversification, it's not just about one software, because you'll have Serato, you'll say, I like this. It's about learning all applications. So my whole thing here is, you know, during the years where I didn't want to change, in fact, I stuck a MIDI controller out for 1 year and didn't use it for 1 year. And then finally I broke it out, and I realized how awesome that program was and how awesome that MIDI controller was. But it took me a while to even change to that. So it's like, CD guys, it's hard to change, you know what I'm saying? So, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we use. It really doesn't matter. It's really that you guys behind the wheel. You know, that's what really matters. That being said, what I wanted to emphasize, how many people are doing videos, mixed videos? And are you doing that with your MIDI? Are you doing that with your software? Are you doing it virtual DJ? Okay, I'm just curious. That's just a thing I want to know. But that being said, you notice the trend is videos, MIDIs. That's really where it's going. You notice array systems. Is that kind of what you guys are seeing? Arrays? No array systems.
I'm starting to see it.
You're starting to see them. We saw them at NOM, I think. A lot of people.
Back at NOM.
Yeah, NOM. But I just want to say, you guys have been like family. And I'm just going to end it real short here. I'm going to have a tamale party, but I want you guys to do me a big favor, okay? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to hear it. Yes!
Yes!
Since you guys embraced me last year, and you were just friends, I consider everybody your friends. Some people, I know a few people out there, not everybody, and I try to remember names, but I don't remember names that good. So I have to actually have notes sometimes, you know, to remember names after a while. So, but I know a lot of you guys. But what I want you to do, just as a favor to me, go to my tamale party afterwards, right? We're going to have it afterwards. So after this is over with, invite somebody that you don't even know. Just here's. I want you to go. I don't care who.
How big is your room? Just to.
Well, you know, we've got Stephen and Jasper's room right next door, so we can hook them up. So what I was just saying is, if you guys can do me that favor, just like you guys embraced me, you know, the first year, that was awesome, and you know, to say that it was a really welcoming thing for any DJ, you know, to go out there and just meet somebody, you know, network with that person. But it's not just about networking, it's about the friendships that you make. So that's how I feel. And Boz?
I just want to add, there's plus the tamales German alcohol.
Oh, okay.
For free.
That's right. And this time I think
I know all about that.
and I think that you have enough to go around, Boz. Awesome. But anyway, I just wanted to just emphasize that things are changing, and don't be afraid to go out and do a bungee jump. I don't care. But try something new. You know, that's all I'm saying. Just try something new as a DJ, because it's a passion that you have as a DJ. That's really going to really step up your game. You know, and if you don't have any passion, then why are you doing it? That's how I feel. So, with that said, I'm going to give you guys later, after this, there's a little thing that says my room number and tamale party night. So I want you to just give it to somebody, you know, that you saw today. Well, hopefully it's a DJ or a DJ lady. You know, just tell them, hey, you're welcome to the party. And in fact, I've got 100 tamales to give away, so that's a lot of fun. All right, thank you very much.
Barrow, do me a favor.
What?
Don't go changing.
Okay.
Let's see who's next. Nadine, come on up here. Nadine is our resident Punjabi DJ. India DJ is going to help us out, so give it up for her.
All right.
And throat hurts a little bit, sorry.
There you go. Stuck in the class.
Stop in pocket. Have any of you guys DJ'd an Indian wedding before? A couple of you? Have you guys attended one? No? Basically, they're a big production. As I was saying, you know, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. So I just thought, I told Brian we could talk about big weddings and kind of how it differs from some of the weddings that you guys do. You know, I could go on and on and on. There's so many different to talk about. So I'm trying to kind of keep it short and simple. But there's a lot of different cultures within India, and each culture does their weddings a little bit differently. So, for example, Patel, it's a popular last name, I'm sure you guys have heard of it. They're from a certain part of India. So they do certain different types of things at their wedding, you know, certain ceremonies. You know, versus my last name is Sharma. I'm from the north of India, so we do different things, and there's people from the south. It's kind of like, you know, you have Christians all over the country. Some are in New York, some are in Chicago, some are in LA, and some do it an LA way, and some do it a Chicago-ish way. So it's kind of similar like that. We have multiple events that we DJ starting like on Thursdays or Wednesdays and going all the way till Saturday or Sunday. So the biggest thing that we have to overcome is people want to say, well, you're doing 3 events, 4 events, you know, give us a deal, give us a price, and that's the, you know, for those of you who don't even do weddings, you know, dealing with the clients is a little bit difficult. But that's one thing that's hard to overcome. So for example, like we got married a couple years ago, my wife and I, we had a couple different events. So Thursday night was the first event, and that's typically hosted like by the ladies' side, and sometimes the gent side will have one, and they call it a mehndi. Mehndi is henna. Henna is like the tattoo that you said the ladies get. If you're familiar, it's like a henna drawing. So the ladies will get it. The bride gets dressed in it. They do some ceremonies. So they have some music there, a little dancing, a little light, you know, light drinks and stuff. It's kind of informal. Then the next night, Friday night, we have the Sangeet party. Sangeet is sing-song. Basically, guys come, they get filthy drunk. That's all they do, and the girls, they sing songs and they dance, and that's pretty much it. That's called a Sangeet. That's for like 5 or 6 hours. That's our version of like a rehearsal dinner. Like you guys have like a rehearsal dinner where everybody goes and practice. Well, for a Sangeet, this is like the first time where both families are meeting each other. Because oftentimes, you know, the girl may be from Michigan and the guy may be from Chicago, or vice versa. Because the wedding's usually hosted from the girl's side. So this is the first time where the families are meeting each other and getting to know each other. Then that goes maybe from, I don't know, 7 till midnight, for example. Then the next morning, we start about 8 o'clock in the morning. It's quite early, it's a whole day. And the first thing we do is what's called a barat. A barat is basically like the groom's processional. So the groom comes and they dance. The groom will get on a horse, big white horse. It's decorated, wall decorations. And we'll have drummers, like live drummers, and the drummers play music, and the groom's on the horse, and he's got all this entourage with him. And he comes to the hall, for example, or the temple, and the bride's side greets him. The bride's mom is there. The bride greets him and does little ceremonies and stuff, welcome, etc., etc., etc. Once that's done, then we go on to the wedding ceremony, and that lasts anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours. And then we're there performing at the ceremony also with a similar setup of lapel for the priest. Sometimes there's multiple priests. We need multiple microphones, speakers. We have certain music that we play. We play music throughout the whole ceremony. Typical non-Indian weddings I've seen where they have like the vows and everything. You guys don't really play too much music. We're playing music pretty much throughout the whole ceremony because there's different parts of the ceremony. You have songs that kind of go with that. So that lasts anywhere, like I said, for an hour and a half to 3 hours. Then after that, sometimes they'll go and have lunch, and then they'll come back and they have a post ceremony. So you're kind of stuck because you kind of got to keep the system set up. You can't really break down. And then finally that's done. We have a couple hours break. We break down and they flip the room, basically. And then the reception starts at 6 and that goes till midnight or 1 a.m. And that's where it's another full setup that we're adding on to what we did. And that's Saturday. And then sometimes Sunday morning they'll have like a brunch, but we don't really perform at that. But it's still a 3 or 4 day function. It's a lot of work. And
is there such thing as a small Indian wedding or a short Indian wedding? You consolidate it, ruin it, the average is kind of.
I've done a few. The trend lately is mixed weddings is real popular. When I say mixed weddings, you'll have an Indian girl marrying a non-Indian guy, like an American guy, white guy, or black or Asian, whatever. It's not different culture. So with those, you sometimes, Brian, do see the condensed weddings because they don't want to make the other side do so much. They want to condense it. But on the opposite, sometimes, and I hate to talk bad about the Indians, but sometimes they'll be like, we don't care about them. We're doing full-blown regardless because that's just kind of controlling. That's how they want to do it. So that's kind of where it's difficult because the other side is like confused. They don't know what the hell's going on.
Right.
So you do see it.
Typically, would you be employed for the whole wedding or segments of it?
We'd like to be employed for the whole wedding, but the problem is, this is where we run into, we'll give them a price for the reception, and then we'll add on everything else and maybe give them a little discount or something. But then sometimes they'll go and they'll hire somebody else to do the rehearsal night or do the other event when we can just do it. So we'd like to be employed because then you're getting the most money for that whole weekend that you're spending, but that's not always the case.
I was hired to do a Punjab wedding reception one time, and I found that it was, first of all, they wanted the music very loud, very, very loud, in most American weddings. The second was the girls were all in one circle and the guys were in another circle. And the guys would sneak over to the girls' circle and then they got to go back. It's kind of funny to see there was a whole game that would play between the sexes of different dancing. Girls would dance in one group, great big group, as big as half of this group. And then another group, the boys would dance in another group. They would trade back and forth. So they would stay on their side.
Yeah, basically, you have different religions. So, like Hindu is the most popular religion, like I'm Hindu. And then there's also Sikh. If you've seen someone who wears a turban, they're Sikh. So they're from Punjab. So that's why they're Punjabi, that's their culture. And that's the type of event that you did. And I kind of shy away from those because they kind of have their own kind of set of DJs. A, because they want the music so bloody loud that like your ears will go deaf. Like it's seriously, like the loudest you can, every time, louder, louder, louder. The halls will complain and they drink like nuts and they fight. Every Punjabi party ends in a fight. The last one that we did, I'm sure some of you guys see my gig logs and you see everything. And the last one we did, it was in Fort Wayne because I travel a lot.
Second birthday party.
Second birthday party. It was a second birthday party, 400 people.
For a 2-year-old.
For a 2-year-old. They usually do first birthday party, but they couldn't do it. So second birthday party, and everybody gets here at 6, and from 6 to 10, the guys are just drinking nonstop. The ladies, like you said, the ladies are sitting down over there doing their thing. Then they start dancing at 10 o'clock. They serve the dinner at 11. People can eat. 10:45, someone gets clocked in the nose, broken nose, blood all over the dance floor. 3 more people fight. One guy's in the kitchen spitting blood up everywhere. They're going to get stuff on my gear. And finally tell me to shut down. Police comes. Every party ends like that. And it's gets a bad reputation.
Sounds like a German
You know,
party.
Yeah, I'm really into that. No, nothing a party with a real good fight.
and that's kind of why I shy away from doing those events. I kind of like, I don't have to say not that. I like the higher end, more classy type weddings. I just kind of shy away from that because it's just a different element, different culture.
You don't want to DJ, but it sounds like it's fun to go to.
Yeah. And like you were saying, the girls will dance on one side, and the guys will dance on the other side. And the girls won't drink, or maybe they'll have a little wine or something. But yeah, you're right. It's just how it is. I mean, they don't mind their husbands getting just bloody drunk and coming up. They'll come up to you, and these guys are big guys. I'm not that big of a guy. These are big guys, and they'll be right next to me, and they'll be ready to pull a gun out or something, or punch you if you don't play their song. Like, they're hardcore.
Oh my.
Yeah, seriously. You know, so you got to take like people. So that's why I kind of shy away from doing those kind of things because they're very hardcore.
What sort of lighting do you do? Do you do quite a big production, or is it smaller lighting, or what's your standard type of lighting package for that type of event?
I used to do a lot of lighting, but lately they've kind of shied away, like Stefan was saying. Like it's more of a like the elegant thing where they'll spend like buku money on like the decorations and the flowers and everything else, and they don't want some of the LED lighting or some of the other. They don't really like light, so we've lately kind of been shying away from that. And uplightings get real popular now. That's like a big upsell. But I do typically try to put some type of.
You find it in the UK we have quite a diverse Indian and Pakistani population, and they do mix. And we're finding that there's specialist venues in particular areas, and that they will adapt to whatever's necessary. But also, rather than just DJs, because you're saying it covers such a long period of time and there's a lot involved with it, they will basically do the event, they will supply the drummers, they will supply the video. Often there's quite a bit more old school video screens, and they've got the guy walking around with the video camera and things like that. I mean, does that happen here? Is that evolving into that? We might take over the whole thing, or are there specialist venues for Asian weddings?
Venues, we typically do in Michigan the same 5 or 10 or 15 venues that hold 400, 500, 600 people, that allow us to bring in outside catering. That's the big thing.
Because that's the thing that also, they're very large weddings, aren't they?
Yeah.
A lot of people going to them.
Yeah, 400, 500,
Yeah,
600,
it's not 200 people.
700. I think the largest I did was 1,100. And they bring their own outside catering in, and so they want to be able to work directly with the caterer, and with the Indians, it's all about getting the best deal and negotiating, and like you said, kind of what you said about the video thing. A lot of the, last year I was telling Brian, I said I didn't see any other Indian DJs here. Kind of same thing this year, because a lot of them, their price point is set a lot less. They kind of do basic because price is a big thing, and like with the video. These old school Indian videographers who've been doing it for a long time, they get big ass cameras with the big bright light that blinds you, and and the big huge tripod, and you see that like every wedding because they're the least expensive. It's only 1% or 5% of the weddings that you see that have like the real high class video with the HD and all the cool and the photographer, because they just kind of they just kind of.
Actually, they're probably the Asian DJs or guys are the ones that are getting the highest price. So they're earning more money as DJs than the English guys doing the English weddings.
It's nearly the same in Germany with the Muslim DJs.
Yeah, I don't do many Muslim events. Very, very rarely. They don't really dance, but we do. We provide sound systems for them. Sure.
I mean, is it just typically 4 days, or is it longer than that?
Yeah, it's more 2 or 3 days. 4 days is a little exaggeration. It's typically 2 to 3 days. But even over 2 days, you'll see the events. You start 6 p.m. Friday and you get done at 2 a.m. on Saturday, and it's like nonstop. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you.
I just gotta say before anybody else comes up, we've had some of the best speakers we've ever had at this particular event. So thanks to everybody for speaking today. We love people over here. So I'm going to do, but we got to kind of consolidate because we're going along on stuff. It's so good. And just keep that in mind when you're coming up to speak. I want to bring Nate up. Nate is a 19-year-old wedding DJ. And we all talk about the young DJs, but let's hear it from his perspective. So give it up for Nate.
take this, I will talk about the length of it. I wanted to say thank you to all of you, because I can definitely say I would not be here today if it wasn't for YouTube and the people in here, because pretty much the people in here are the main people on YouTube, teaching everyone everything they know, their setups and all that stuff. So that's my biggest thank you. I know I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't have went to the Atlantic City show, and I don't think my DJ business would be as successful as it is, because I'm taking all of your ideas from all over the world, you know, Australia even, John Beck, and embracing where I come from. I'm in Muncie, Indiana. We're about an hour away from Indianapolis, that's our capital. Surrounded by cornfields, pretty much. My age really hasn't played a factor into you know, people not thinking I'm professional or not wanting to hire me because of experience. I went to one of the seminars at the DJ Expo in Atlantic City. You know, they said brides are, like the millennial brides that are getting married right now, the 20-somethings, they don't care about 20 years experience with that on your business card and stuff. They want, obviously everybody wants something different. They want something, you know, modern and young, and I fit that apparently because I'm young. So that was good. So there's nothing really special in my area that I'm doing. I did a bridal show Sunday right before I flew out here, and that kind of was an eye-opener for me, because a lot of times when I talk about uplighting, and obviously that's kind of the new thing. The people I had talked to in the weddings I'd done, they had, a few people did it, but it wasn't a big thing to them. It was kind of, nice show, we'll take a few lights. Out of the hundreds of people I talked to at the bridal show, there was one bride that didn't know what uplighting was. And the people I did talk to, it was something that they had. I mean, it was almost like another, like the venue, the caterer, and the uplighting. Like it was almost one of those things. So it's, if you're not offering it, definitely offer it. Especially with LEDs, how cheap it is. Throw the worst speaker out, everyone was so good. Yeah, I haven't, yeah, I'll tell you this. I've been in the business exactly pretty much 1 year. I started January 1st when I am, and I'm really glad that not being in it very long, I'm here and I'm learning. And I think I'm far ahead for. Yes, sir.
So with the bride, I completely get that a younger bride wants a more modern look. So my question might not be a question like, what do you answer, or do you ever get the question, well, you know, show me your past experience, or how do I know you can do this? Like, your age is not a factor, but does anyone ever ask you, or they all tend to be the younger brides?
I've done some, I know there was one back last summer that it was they were kind of an older couple, like, you know, they've been married a couple times, and so it was, but no, it really hasn't been. I've tried it with like graphics and my business card and the website. I just try to make it look as professional as possible, and since it does look professional, they don't really question. I think one person, and I don't think they were a bride, they were just kind of curious, you know, how many weddings have you done? They asked me at the bridal show a few days ago, but other than that, no, it really hasn't. It's almost like it's non-existent. So that's kind of my experience with it.
How many have you done?
I'd say probably 20 in a year. I still need to do my taxes, go out together. But I think I did close to 50 events in my first year, so I was really happy. It was kind of one of those things that, you know, I do something and somebody would come up and like what I was doing at the gig, and they would call me, and it was, I do one gig and book 2 gigs in that one, and that's just how it's been ever since. So.
Just to say that, to get 50 gigs in a year, you must be 10 years in the business in Germany.
Really?
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, quite honestly, to do your right, same thing.
That's almost like a week.
He's doing great. That's a full-time job.
Yeah, I know there's a couple, yeah.
Have you been working with a company or an agency, or are you?
I'm just 100% by myself. And I know Brian talked about this sometime on his YouTube channel about, you know, or even all of us, you know, just people buying equipment and saying they're DJs. And honestly, I pretty much did that, but YouTube really saved me, I think, because I'm here now and I'm doing what DJs are supposed to do, and it's worked out well. And I think that if I'm saying I'm going to be a DJ, I need to actually be able to be a DJ.
But hey, there's one big difference though. You have the right attitude.
Right.
You have. I was talking to you yesterday, and I was telling Jasper over breakfast how impressed I was with your attitude. You have the right attitude. You're doing it the right way. You're doing it professionally. You're trying to get the best gear you can get at the time. And man, if I was you when I was your age, holy crap! So I mean,
talented,
big congratulations.
When we say that kind of stuff, it's a generalization.
I think you have a question.
Yeah, the problem is everybody thinks they're.
What's the going rate in your area?
In my area,
Or what do you charge your
what
going
I
rate?
charge, I do something that a lot of people don't do. They shy away from two things. One, I put my prices on my website. I know that's a big controversy. Some people like to do it. Yeah. And I don't package it. I just charge a flat rate. Currently, it's about $120 an hour for weddings and stuff. And I told my brides this when I did my bridal show, and it works really well. I said, some of the older DJs, it's kind of hard to do this just because they've been lugging equipment around forever. But I said, that's the rate. If you want sound and lighting for 50 people or 500 people, I'll bring in the sound. And I said, same with lighting. If you want to be really formal, we can do that. Or if you want it to look like a club with 20 fixtures, I don't charge any extra for that. I leave that up to the customers. So that's kind of how that's been.
Probably important to understand where you're from too.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not from Beverly Hills.
No, it's just your typical middle class town. I think like 60-some thousand people.
I have a question too as well. Like you're saying, like being from, and maybe for all the other DJs out there, like that's my personal routine. I've only been in for like 3 years as well. But you find it like I find it like Charlotte. So in that area, which just like for me, I like Indian weddings and things like that. So in Charlotte, I know the other DJ like basically. What I couldn't find out like there's a lot of DJs in like big markets like New York, Chicago, LA, and for all the other DJs out there, even like overseas, you guys, being from Munchie, from your town, it's good that you kind of the public kind of gets to know you, they trust you, and they go through word of mouth. I mean, a lot of my things have been through word of mouth, and if you know the other DJs, like they kind of just go with you, they know who you are, and your personality and how you do things different from others. But those in like larger markets, and I pose a question for everyone here. I don't know if you guys are watching it on YouTube. Do you find it like in the larger markets where how do you compete with one DJ like if you're in Chicago or LA or London or what? There's multiple DJs out there. How do you guys how do you brand yourself from the other DJs out there? Whereas in our town we kind of have a niche. You have that niche. People know who you are. You go for it. But in maybe like a cosmopolitan city, how do you brand yourself?
I think being the personal, because the thing I'm trying to stick away from, even until when I'm not a DJ, or if I ever quit being a DJ, is the whole thing with the multi-op company. When you call, you talk to Bob. If you book them, you meet with Chris. And then Joe comes out to do your wedding, and you may write him a $1,000 check if he's making $15-20 an hour. And I think when you make it personal, and I know Steph was talking about this, is how it's just us. If there's one person who answers the phone, you're getting an email from the same person, and that same person is going to be the one at your event, and that's key in keeping details and talking. And plus, if you know your bride and groom. It's almost like become friends with them. I mean, they're going to refer business to you if you do their wedding, right? And any event, really. So I think that's the biggest thing. If there's something you offer experience and talent, you can't buy that. So if there's something that you do that's totally different than no one else does, uplighting and stuff like that, I mean, that's becoming more general now. But something like that, I think that's what you're really going to have to do. But I'm going to wrap up. Just thank you again for everything. Omar?
One question. You mentioned to me yesterday that you saw the other DJs in your market doing your school dances. and you decided you want to be a DJ.
Yeah, that was.
So, at what point, when you decided to be a DJ, how soon was your first gig?
I got some, I started like January 1st last year. I got a bunch of equipment, and it was right around like New Year's. So I just me and my friends we had a New Year's party, and just I think I made like $100, and we just kind of charged like $5 at the door. And then after that, I did a sweetheart dance at my school, and then I got into another school. They did like a fundraiser, which they actually paid really well for being a fundraiser. And come to find out, the person who did that fundraiser is, we had a whole bunch of mutual friends, and she's referred all kinds of business to me that has nothing to do with schools. And she's probably got me like 6 to 10 gigs or 6 to 10 leads off of one person. So.
And how long did it take to get your first wedding?
I started January 1st, and then that summer. It would have been, I think, sometime in June, but I was busy that day. But I think, yeah, in July, the middle of July to the end of August, I had a wedding every weekend. And then I didn't have any until, I think, October. And then I just did one, like a Christmas wedding. I think that was the last one I've done. But they've all went well. So I've been happy. I've been lucky. Thank you, everybody.
We're running a little long, is that cool, you guys? Okay?
Yeah, right.
Okay, I'm gonna have to excuse myself for a moment, but I'm gonna bring somebody up here, our last formal scheduled speaker of the day, a couple of no-shows. We'll slap him in the head later when we see him. That's okay. We're gonna bring Max up. Max Gels, he won the contest, the Light of Las Vegas video contest. He's here, and I've seen his rig before. It's amazing. I want him to go up and talk a little bit about what he's doing over the weekend. So get up here, come on, stand up and get up here. Mr. Pioneer Plasma video stream, big trusting guy. There you go.
Hello. Hello? Sorry, Simon. My name is Max. I'm from Windsor, which is in UK.
Windsor?
Yeah.
My neighbor. Windsor, Ontario.
All right. I'm 37. I've been DJing since I was 15. About 5 years ago, I kind of got in a bit of a stalemate with DJing and sort of really lost the will to live with DJing. So decided to, it's a short story, decided to take up video DJing. And with that, I sort of looked to go to YouTube, really to use YouTube as a sort of reference to put up my gig logs and videos. The reason why I did that, I think video DJing really is one of the hardest things to sell to clients, and trying to get them to engage and basically understand all of the facilities and all the services that we offer. The reason why I did that is I could use it as a reference onto the website, and when selling the different packages, and we do a whole scale of, I say we, it's just me, we use a different scale of packages for different styles of events, so based on 100, 200, 300, and 400 guests. YouTube's been great in that obviously we can get the videos on the website. It's very rare that you'll probably see me in one of my gig logs. There were a number of gig logs that I was in. I thought it'd be quite a good idea to maybe take them off the website if I was getting clients to use that as a reference, because yeah, there were some funny ones on there, but not the sort of ones that clients would want to book you for. Really, with video DJing, it's pretty intense. I've kind of got to have around about 8 arms. I've only obviously got 2. Still use Pioneer DVJs, Edelroll mixers. Didn't go down the SVM route because I'm mixing DVDs, Serato cameras, and digital cameras as well. Equipment is plasmas and screens. It really depends on the sort of size of the venue, because screens are often quite difficult because you don't have the space for front or back projection. So literally just going in with plasmas is quite easy to do. Ryan obviously mentioned the rigs and stuff. It really depends on the sort of application and the size of the venues and the different crowds that you're working with. I'm pretty fortunate in that my day job, my real job is I'm a production manager for an events company. So my kit I've built up over the years. I've also got a resource for bigger events where I can draft in my proper job to basically fill the gaps in kit. It's my proper job that feeds my video DJ job. So basically I spec myself on jobs, which is nice. Simon at the back.
What's the average amount of crew you take in?
It could depend on anywhere between 2 and 20 guys, depending on the size of the event. Simon.
I know you still, as well as doing these, you do smaller events.
Yeah. I still DJ as well. We got pretty hit about 2 years ago in the UK. And the way the pricing of the packaging is all my pricing I've basically put on the website. I know that there's a fine line between people saying don't put them on there and put them on there. The reason why I did put the pricing on the website was simply because I wanted to kind of filter out all the people really that would phone up, like your website, and trying to avoid the kind of people that were willing to spend about £350 and getting into their getting out of the conversation and obviously just attracting the people that are really serious about doing the video DJing, because there are some guys that do it for £350, but the investment in the kit really doesn't justify 350 quid. So
are you mixing live cameras in or video feed?
Live cameras, party photography, so a guy running around with an SLR camera and 2 DVDs, and I also use 2 Macs with Archaos video software on. So if there is I can pretty much run a whole show on 100% music video now, but I also use Archaos as well, because if we're doing a theme party, then what we try and promote is that clients don't use physical theming, i.e. drapes, backdrops, etc. And all the theming we'll do on Archaos. So it's kind of almost generating the reason for you being there, is to say, look, not only can we do the music videos, the cameras, etc., but then we can also incorporate the theme. So it's kind of almost like you need us at the event rather than we just do music video. Simon back.
How do you do your marketing?
Mainly through the website. I have a company that do a CEO on my website every month. YouTube, Facebook. I've got a Visual DJ Facebook page, a Visual DJ YouTube page. From that, generate obviously inquiries. YouTube and Facebook have both been quite good in generating inquiries and stuff, so that's great. And that's pretty much it. Word of mouth. It's still really new in the UK. There are guys. That's a nice hat, Jason. There are guys in the UK that still do it, and they will do it off Serato, but that will kind of almost be it. So it's still very new. I know that you guys out here have been using it for a while now, and it's very much word of mouth, because not many people have witnessed it, or to the extent that we're actually doing it. So it's mainly people going to the gigs. Simon, back again.
Thank you. Hang on, can I interrupt? I think he's actually trying to work out how you do your business totally for his own personal benefit.
Where do you get your videos from?
I use a number of sources, and I think a lot of them American. DT videos, Vid, I think it's Vid Smash, and then also in the UK is Mixmash and primarily.
So you download them, or they send you?
To a download, it's primarily now offer a download service. So I've ventured into Serato SL. I don't predominantly just use that because I'm very much belt and braces. So I was one of the last people to go from vinyl to CD. So now I just have all my DVDs as backup and use Serato and DVDs sort of together, sort of thing. Any more questions, Simon?
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, sir.
Sorry, just a quick one.
Yeah.
What's the majority of the type of events that you do in the schools or something like that? And you run into problems with, because I have video equipment and all that, but I don't get to take it out and use it very often because of the content of the videos.
Of course.
You can't take them usually in school because 40% of the stuff I can play and 60 I can't.
Yeah, it does. Having that conversation this morning. I don't do a lot of school stuff at all, mainly because it's really hard to get into in the UK. We've only just got the whole Sweet 16 and prom thing, so it's only, about a month, 2 months ago, we had our first sort of national prom conference sort of thing, so that's kind of how new it is. Really, it's not that much of a problem because a lot of the, say for example, with promo only, they would have the titles of all the tracks, and next to it they'd have like an eye, which would be a kind of warning that it's a bit risque, or there's some level of nudity in it, or whatever. So more often than not, you would kind of know the material that you can.
What type of your events are they?
Sorry.
What are you actually doing?
Mainly private corporate, so birthday parties, weddings. After conference parties are quite a big thing for us because, as you can imagine, they've already got the set already in place, so they want to use it as much as they can. So with that, they'll finish the conference, everybody will leave, we'll come in, set up in and around the set, and then basically just use the system, or come in and bring in ours and stuff. So.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. That's it for the show. Unless anybody else has anything to add, say.
I'll speak.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's do this. I got a great idea. You need to come to room 5412. You can speak all you want. There's 3 tamales in there. Morrow expects you to come. This guy literally hand makes all these tamales for you. You get 100 of them. He's not good at somewhere big brains. One of the nicest guys. And he expects you to be there. So if you attend, you don't have one of these slips, write it down. It's room 5412. 5412. He's talking about 6:30, which is probably about 20 minutes from now. So, yeah, let's do that. Let's get out here, let's have some tamales, and let's network. Invite whoever you'd like to come, because he has lots, and he expects to see you tomorrow. So, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, and next year, if you want to do this, stay tuned, and you'll have the opportunity. Just let me know, and we'll get you on the list. Okay? Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, 3 to 5.
All right, that's it for Practice and Enjoy 2011. Hope you enjoyed it. And for those of you who couldn't make it out here this year, be here next year, okay? You see, we got a lot of people here. We want you here next year.
Here now.